All right, folks, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered for Monday, January 7th, 2019. Big news day. Cyntoia Brown, the woman who's been in prison the last 15 years for the murder of the man who brought her as a sex slave when she was 15 years old, has been granted clemency by Tennessee Governor Bill Haslam. We will talk to a pastor who counsels Cyntoia Brown and also who played a huge role in getting the governor to make this decision. We'll talk with Bishop Joseph Walker. Also, there's a new suspect in the killing of 7-year-old Jasmine Barnes just outside of Houston. It sure seemed like a racially motivated shooting from the initial sketch, but the person arrested, 2 people, African-American. We'll talk to the family attorney, Lee Merritt, about latest developments. Also, 1.4 million people formerly incarcerated in Florida get to register to vote beginning today. We'll talk with Desmond Meade, the man behind the campaign that made all of this possible. Also, what in the hell is going on in Birmingham? The Birmingham Civil Rights Institute was supposed to honor Angela Davis, a native of Birmingham, with the Fred Shuttlesworth Human Rights Award. But after various Jewish organizations complained, they have now rescinded that award, angering black folks in Birmingham. We will break it all down for you on the show. Also, people are still talking about the 6-part docuseries on Lifetime on R. Kelly. We'll talk with 2 women who are the founders of the Mute R. Kelly campaign, so you don't want to miss that conversation. All right, folks, it's a packed show. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin!
All right, folks, some imperfect justice today for 30-year-old Cyntoia Brown. She's a young woman we told you about who had been convicted at the age of 16 of murdering a man who had bought her as a sex slave. Tennessee Governor Bill Haslam, he had been pressured for the last couple of months to grant her clemency. Well, that actually happened today. Cyntoia Brown is set to be released from prison in August. Again, she served 15 years in prison. She'll still be under supervision for another 10 years. So while this may be justice, it's an imperfect justice. This is what Governor Haslam had to say in his statement of clemency. Quote, "This decision comes after careful consideration of what is a tragic and complex case. Cyntoia Brown committed, by her own admission, a horrific crime at the age of 16. Yet imposing a life sentence on a juvenile that would require her to serve at least 51 years before even being eligible for parole consideration is too harsh. especially in light of the extraordinary steps Ms. Brown has taken to rebuild her life. Transformation should be accompanied by hope. Here's a statement that Cyntoia Brown released. Quote, "Thank you, Governor Haslam, for your act of mercy in giving me a second chance. I will do everything I can to justify your faith in me. I want to thank those at the Tennessee Department of Corrections who saw something in me worth, especially Miss Connie Seabrooks, for allowing me to participate in the Lipscomb Life program. It changed my life. I'm also grateful to those at the Tennessee Department of Corrections who will work with me over the next several months to help me in the transition from prison to the free world. Thank you to Dr. Richard Good and Dr. Kate Watkins and all of you at Lipscomb University for opening up a whole new world." And he's also Counsel Brown, and he's joining us right now. Bishop, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, Roland. How are you, man?
So glad to have you here. So first and foremost, I was talking with one of the state representatives who sent me the notice this morning of the clemency, and he said that you really had a number of conversations with Governor Haslam as recently as last night about this case.
You know, Roland, we had a conversation, and actually we had a conversation. The last conversation we had was right about 2 or 3 weeks ago. The governor was in a place where he was really contemplating this case strongly, weighing both sides of the issue, and really wanted to make certain that he got it right. He was a man who really, really wrestled with this and wasn't going to be buttered into a decision. But, you know, he was a moral man and wanted to have a moral conversation with me about it. He asked me some serious questions about, you know, why Cyntoia and not someone else who in the same situation. He asked me about, you know, what would this situation mean in terms of moving the needle forward in terms of this whole issue. And we were able to work through that, and I was really able to really help him see what redemption looks like and how she has transformed her life and how she can be an ambassador for goodwill and how she can really be the face for the voiceless, the voice for the voices, and the face for this movement of restorative justice for so many who have been sentenced under antiquated laws who are youth.
And you obviously you've been working with her. Have you talked to her today? And if so, what was that conversation like?
It was joyous. She's incredibly excited. You know, we laughed, and I could tell she was just really, really happy. She's really ready to get out to get to work. That's the kind of person Cyntoia is. You know, she wants to get out and certainly enjoy her freedom, but she, you know, she's committed. She's going to connect. She's already connected with our ministry, and she's going to be really working through the prison ministry and really helping people who are in the same situation that she is, and really wants to go around the country really encouraging other people in other states to really revisit these laws that are on the books.
A lot of people, when I posted the statement about her, the breaking news alert about her being granted clemency, people first of all said, why is she going to still be on probation for 10 years and why wait until August? Can you explain that?
Yeah, so the legal team, you know, Charles Bone and that team, with the Herculean task that they perform, advocating for this. So in Tennessee, if you're sentenced to first degree, as she was, then it's a mandatory 51 years before you're eligible for parole. She would have been 67 years old. Second degree, commuting it to second degree meant that she could, you'd have to serve 15 years to 25. So the governor wanted to, one, make certain that she did serve the 15 years, and actually she's going to be released on the exact same day, 15 years later, that she was incarcerated. When Cyntoia was told the news, and one of the attorneys said to her this morning, are you upset that you're not getting out? She said, are you kidding me? You know, she says, what? You know, she was so excited and really is looking forward to the transition from being incarcerated. And the Tennessee Department of Corrections is really working with her to make sure that transition happens well.
You also talked about her preparing for the transition. She also made that statement in the statement that we just read as well. She still has a class to finish, and so what are you and others helping her with? Because I mean, look, she went in frankly as a teenager. Now she's coming out as an adult. I mean, that is a huge transition going from prison to being free, and especially with, as we also know, there are going to be lots of demands for people wanting her to speak, wanting her to go different places, and so talk about that, please.
program, and that's where our ministry has connected with her through the Take One program that allows us to mentor her regularly, and our team has already been doing that, and so we're going to support her once she's released. There's going to be a lot of services wrapped around her, a lot of our media team and our partners, and even with the law firm that was representing her is going to kind of wrap their arms around her and help her navigate through that, because that's going to be a lot. And so she's really excited about the support that we're offering, and of course her legal team is offering as well.
All right, Bishop Joseph Walker, we certainly appreciate you joining us, and thank you so very much for all of the work that you and others did to help free Cyntoia Brown.
Thank you, sir.
All right, want to go to our panel right now. Joining us, Dr. Amos Jones-Weaver, leadership strategist. Also, Michael Brown, former vice chair, DNC Finance Committee, and Eugene Craig, CEO, Eugene Craig Organization. I'll start with you, Avis. Obviously, good news. And obviously, there are a lot of people who, again, I saw these people who are saying, okay, but, you know, why August, why August, why August? But as you heard the bishop say, her deal is like, look, I'm getting out.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the main thing. We're happy that she's getting out because, as was mentioned, she could have been there for 51 years. So I'm so happy that the governor has recognized the injustice of this overarching sentence that would have just destroyed her entire life, and has allowed now her the ability to be able to just have a few more months left where she can see literally the end of the rainbow, work towards finishing her degree, and ultimately be able to live the rest of her life in freedom.
Michael and Eugene, look, one of the issues that this country has had, Supreme Court ruled on it when it came to these life sentences for juveniles. I mean, this is a fundamental problem in this country where individuals who committed acts when they were 14, 15, 16, and America said, what the hell, we're just going to throw the book at you, and let's just be clear, most of them were people of color. This has forced governors, Republicans and Democrats, to recognize that we have an unjust system in terms of how we target and deal with young offenders.
And it also shows, Roland, how important advocacy is, because clearly the governor felt enormous amounts of pressure, probably from both sides. I'm sure he got letters on the other side of the issue, but the kind of pressure he got from all over the country, frankly, not just in that state, I think really helped him and his folks say, you know what, this is the right thing to do. And it made it easy for him. He has all the cover in the world, whether he wanted to do it or not. No one can say anything about it. He's not going to lose any votes because of it. So frankly, I think sometimes we... certainly, I'd criticize that particular party on the right side, but sometimes we have to give credit where credit is due, and the governor should be commended.
Eugene?
Yeah, I agree 100%. You know, when the governor started signaling that he was, maybe leaning towards this, I said, he had nothing to lose with it. He had everything to gain with it, and I'm glad that he has stepped in. And a lot of governors are stepping in because the system is broken, and it's a never-ending fight. Organizations and advocacy are, it's been an engaged fight. And this is another W put up on the board.
All right, then. So we'll certainly be following this to see what happens next. But again, Cyntoia Brown will be released from prison in August, granted clemency by Tennessee Governor Bill Haslam. Now let's go to a story that has garnered lots of attention out of Houston, and that is the case of Jasmine Barnes, 7 years old, shot and killed outside of a Walmart. Now initially, it appears to be a racially motivated shooting when one or more of the eyewitnesses, including Jasmine's teenage sister, described a white man in a red pickup truck firing the shots. Now, the pictures, the man in the police sketch and his red pickup were widely circulated. But over the weekend, a couple of people were arrested, and it turns out the shooting may very well have been a case of mistaken identity. That is, the shooters were not targeting Jasmine and her family, but someone else. On Sunday, an African-American man in custody admitted to being involved in the shooting. Harris County Sheriff Lee Gonzalez said the red pickup truck had indeed come to a stop at a traffic signal near the car with Jasmine, her mother, and 3 other sisters inside. But he now believes the man in the red pickup was a bystander and not involved. Now, the shooting raised the very plausible possibility that it was racially motivated. The arrest of the suspect for capital murder raises the very important question of the value of relying on eyewitness testimony. Joining us right now is the attorney for the family of Jasmine Barnes, Lee Merritt. Now, Lee, you were very much involved in this in terms of setting this reward up along with activist Sean King. And it was a tip that came in to Sean King that was given to the Harris County Sheriff's Department that led to the arrest of these 2 gentlemen, correct?
That's correct.
And so Speak to this issue that people are raising that, oh my goodness, how did this come to be that this sketch was that of a white man, then all of a sudden you have two black men who are arrested?
It's difficult to see how we went from the sketch of the white male to two black suspects being arrested. But the way it happened was, as you described earlier, the red truck pulled up next to the car that Jasmine was riding in at an intersection. And just before the shooting happened, that red truck actually did something peculiar. It decided at the last moment that it wanted to get on the expressway. So as Jasmine's car pulled off, it went right behind it and pulled to the left of it, over to the driver's side. At that exact moment, the shooters began shooting into Jasmine's car, which they believed was associated with people that they were after. And so my client noticed, Jasmine's sister, I should say, noticed that the car to her right was looking into them, looking to get over. She got a good look at them, and she used that what she saw in order to make that sketch that we all saw. Not only that, but once the shooting started out, pedestrians, one motorist who were behind him, he looked up and he saw that red car taking off, and he actually followed that car. That car later, the driver of that red truck eventually got out to look at his car to see if there had been any damage. And that motorist got a good look at him that he provided to us, and we eventually got it over to law enforcement. There was another tow truck driver who was on the side of the road just looking at this intersection where it happened. And he was looking down until he heard those gunshots, and he saw a red truck taking off. He saw a white suspect inside of it, and he reported that to us. We eventually got into law enforcement. So there were several witnesses who said, hey, there was a white guy in a red truck who committed the shooting, who immediately took off afterwards. And what they were actually referring to was a pedestrian who heard the gunshots himself and reacted to them.
You now have, of course, a lot of people out there with various comments that they're making. Some are saying that the only reason the media cared about this because it was potentially a white man killing a young black girl. And then now you have, of course, you have different folks who are white on social media who are saying, oh, now will any of you care because two black men committed or allegedly committed this act?
Well, the tragic thing is they're not completely wrong to say that the media tuned in because of the racial dynamics of the claim, because of the political nature of the claim. In my opinion, they're not entirely wrong about that. And that's the true tragedy. When you have activists stating that Black Lives Matter, one of the things that we're talking about is that little innocent black girls die or disappear. Media doesn't pay attention to them the way that they pay attention when white girls disappear. And so part of what Sean and other activists were doing and bringing media to this to attention in this matter was to say that this little girl's lives matter. It matters even still, although the evidence that was later revealed to us was that the shooters were black. It still matters. The other thing that we know, and that I believe that the black community in Houston and all over the country was most concerned about, was that if it is a white shooter, he will not be properly prosecuted in the system. Because we live in a nation that is very, very good at prosecuting black men, and they don't show that same energy when prosecuting people of color. And so the people's lack, if disinterest, if that's at all occurring now, is because we know that the American judicial system will successfully prosecute these two black men. They will.
My panel got some questions for you, Lee, so I'm going to start first with Eugene, then I'm going to go down the line.
Hey, Lee, what's the best way we can help these families at this point? I know we're probably going to following this all the way through the full justice process, but in the immediate, what can we do to help this family move, not move past this tragedy, but at least deal with the pain of it?
I really appreciate that question, because in the sensationalism of it all, we forget that this is an actual family. One thing that has not changed is that a 7-year-old girl was killed just last week on Sunday on the eve of New Year's Eve. And so that family is grieving. They're going to be grieving and mourning for a long time. Tomorrow they bury their daughter. I'll be headed back to Houston for the funeral.
And Lee, do you anticipate that now the news coverage will subside a little bit because now it's just kind of black on black crime and people may not care as much about it because God forsaken, obviously it happens every day. But now, do you see now that the media attention will disappear a little bit?
You know, I think the media attention will actually linger a bit. I think it'll have the opposite effect in this case because it turned out not to be a white person. And I think the media wants to converge on that and kick that over a little bit in order to begin to take some power away from the racial climate that we actually live in. To say, see, this is an example that most of the racial claims that our community complains about is in our own heads, and it has no grounding in reality. And so I think the media is actually going to kick that around for a little bit, so the story may linger for a while.
Hi, I've been hearing that there might be some other people involved in this crime. Have they apprehended all of the suspects that they believe were involved with this murder?
Well, so far, only one person has been charged, and that is Eric Black. There's another person named Larry Woodruff, who is being questioned, who is being held, but he has not been charged yet. I expect that he will be charged in the coming days.
And Lee, does will the original white suspect, I don't even know if he was even considered a suspect, but will he have any kind of legal ramifications? Is he going to sue the city or sue anybody because of what happened to him and his family?
No, he was never actually identified. I know that there are some people circulating a picture of somebody who was already in custody and who had been arrested. Some individuals had found that online, and that was circulating. I don't think that he'll have a cause of action. The sketch doesn't identify anybody in particular, and so there's no defamation available for the fictional sketch. And so the actual person hasn't turned himself in or hasn't manifested yet. The driver of the red truck, he's never come back to say, hey, I am the person who was fleeing the shooting. But if he had, he would think he would be coming after any damage could have been done to him.
All right, then. Lee Merritt, we also know, of course, the funeral for Jasmine Barnes is taking place tomorrow. And so we certainly extend our thoughts and prayers to her family.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. All right. Thanks a lot. All right, folks. Over the weekend, of course, actually Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Lifetime aired this docuseries on R. Kelly called Surviving R. Kelly, talking to a number of the women and also some of the men who worked with him, talking about his involvement with underage girls. It was a riveting documentary, broke rating records on Lifetime, but also led to a serious amount of conversation on social media among African Americans, people who are involved in the entertainment industry and others, about how African Americans largely have still been supporting R. Kelly by attending his concerts, by buying his music. One report even showed that the streams to his music were up some 16% on Spotify. No explanation in terms of exactly what that means, but that was one of the things that we've been talking about. And so there are a couple other people, though, one woman who was in the documentary, who led the Mute R. Kelly effort, talking about the impact all across the country and how they were protesting outside of his concerts and how they were trying to get people to understand this critical issue and why it matters. So the question now is, what's next? Documentary is aired. People have been looking at it. So the question is, what is going to happen now? Well, let's now talk about it with a couple of those women. First off, I'm going to play a clip first, just in case many of you didn't see it. Okay, so here's a clip first of the documentary, and then we'll come back talking to the co-founders of the Mute R. Kelly movement.
As she was with R. Kelly, in a room alone.
She was auditioning is the word that was used. She was auditioning for him.
Not having any contact with Israel, we started growing suspicious. We started investigating, and once we found out her iCloud was still on her mother name, we went into it and looked at text messages, and we found some really disturbing text messages between them. They had sex in Florida that first time they met.
All right, joining us right now, the co-creators of the Mute R. Kelly hashtag, Aronike Odalaye, I hope I pronounced that correct, and then also Cyntoia Barnes. How y'all doing?
We're good. Hi, how are you?
All right, glad to have you on Roland Martin Unfiltered. First and foremost, how have your social media accounts, phone lines, emails been blowing up from folks since this docuseries aired?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's been incredible. how much traction this has gotten. We expected it to be big, but this is way bigger, I think, than we expected it to be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And for a lot of people, look, there are some people who were aware of the initial trial that took place where he was found not guilty. And one of the things that I have always explained to people, the jury never said they didn't think that was R. Kelly who wasn't on the video. The jury said they couldn't ascertain the age of the girls who were on the video. And then, of course, that were the stories where the families came after them last year. But to actually, I think, to see all of this sort of in one place, in one setting, I think caused a different reaction for lots of people. Your thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. I think many people knew about little bits and pieces of R. Kelly's history, but I don't think people really saw it in the concomitant that we saw it in the documentary. And I definitely think that a lot of people are now looking at it as a pattern of behavior over almost 3 decades. And so this is something that people are now taking a little bit more seriously.
And now R. Kelly has responded. He apparently is going to launch a Facebook page saying he is going to out each accuser individually. Also says that he plans to sue folks. Not quite sure about the suing part because that will require depositions. I'm sure that's the last thing he wants to be is deposed in a lawsuit.
Right.
We're not overly concerned about lawsuits because, as you stated, I think the last place he wants to be is inside of an open court.
But we are concerned about, his threat to kind of out victims one by one. I mean, that's just more a pattern of victim blaming, of trying to victim shame. And, I think that it's just par for the course for somebody who is a sexual predator. This is another form of emotional extortion. It's really trying to get them to shut up about what it is they've been through by saying, I'm going to embarrass you further. And so that really should not be allowed. And I hope that they sue, that if he tries to come out with damaging material against them. I think that that's just, it's ridiculous, but it just goes to show his mindset and the pattern of behavior that he's been doing for the past 25 years.
And we definitely hope that whatever site he chooses to launch this abuse by proxy, which is essentially what it is, be it Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, that they immediately remove these pages.
Color Change, they have been talking about this, also tweeting about this, and they've been trying to get an answer as to why RCA, the record label, continues to have R. Kelly on their label. Have the two of you reached out to the record label to get some kind of explanation from them as to why they still are supportive of R. Kelly?
Oh, absolutely. Since 2017, when Mute R. Kelly started, that was part of our mission, was to demand that Sony, RCA, and also Live Nation no longer deal with R. Kelly. So we have had conversations with Sony, RCA, Live Nation. We have a petition now on Care 2 that has over 75,000 signatures, and every signature hits the inboxes of those executives. So they know that we want this. And it kind of is almost to us a show of defiance on behalf of Sony and RCA, and also Live Nation, that they just won't drop him. So we are completely mind-boggled by it, but we're not going to stop until we see that.
There have been no announcements of R. Kelly going back on tour. I was on his Instagram page where I saw he had dropped, I guess, a couple of singles recently in the past week or so, and talked about an upcoming album. I would assume that if he decides to make any public appearances, you and your supporters are going to be there waiting for him.
Absolutely. So kind of just a little bit about what we have done, and probably why he hasn't done any more tours in the United States. Since Mute R. Kelly, he had 11 concert cancels, 8 active protests around the country, and an estimated $1.7 million in lost revenue. So I think he realizes that this campaign is serious. We're to take this seriously. We have the ability to mobilize and have a significant impact on his bottom line. However, there is a concert in April in Germany, and we are actually mobilizing with organizers right now in Germany to host a Mute R. Kelly Germany campaign there to block the concert that's coming to Germany.
All right, then. Well, first and foremost, both of you have been doing a bang-up job, and we certainly will see what is next. It still is very curious how, when you look at social media, how some people continue to make excuses in terms of saying, "Oh, this is trying to take down a black man," as if the people involved were not black people. So it's quite interesting looking at some of that reaction. So we appreciate both of you being on the show. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having us.
All right, then. Let's go to our panel right now. It is crazy to me when I see some of these folks who they make these videos like, "I don't care, I'm gonna still keep listening, I don't care, I'm gonna still go to the concert," as if everybody lying.
I mean, it is infuriating. It is absolutely infuriating. And it shows a degree to which, to many people, quite frankly, black girls don't matter. Black women don't matter. This is not news. I mean, it was, as you mentioned, very instructive to have all of this information put together in this documentary. But the fact of the matter is, it wasn't a secret that he had this sex tape out here, peeing, urinating on a child and having sex with children. It wasn't a secret that he married a 15-year-old, okay? It wasn't a secret that he cased out high schools and playgrounds to find girls to accost. I mean, this has been reported on for decades. And so, all of this time, you've had people who have justified it. And so now I'm glad that finally people are taking this seriously. But quite frankly, it took way too long. And it's my belief that if white girls were targeted in this way, he would have been under the jail decades ago.
Mike and Eugene, it is to see some of these brothers, to see some of their reaction. Some of these people like, they're trying to take down R. Kelly. They took down Bill Cosby, but they're not trying to take down Kevin Spacey or Weinstein. Well, first of all, Kevin Spacey was in court today in Massachusetts, accused of groping, sexually assaulting an 18-year-old male. He was in court today. Grand jury is still, first of all, Weinstein was indicted. Now the case is falling apart, but he's not off the hook as well. So this notion that somehow white men are not being held to account. The dude from Subway, Jarrett, whatever that, he's sitting in prison right now. So I'm not buying. Look, this whole idea of the system targeting black people. These were black people who were also victims.
Serial victims. I mean, Cosby, 70 victims. R. Kelly, probably at the end of the day.
Well, most of the folks in the Cosby case were not black, but in the case here, these were all black people. These were all. Ain't no white women.
R. Kelly. R. Kelly.
Not one white woman is at R. Kelly's house right now.
I agree with you. R. Kelly targeted vulnerable black girls. Targeted. I mean, targeted. I actually think about the thought process that he has legal exposure still with the particular 17-year-old girl from Florida. Florida statute of limitations 10 years, and the statute of limitation has not run up yet. And the family does have actual text message evidence of what went down between their daughter and R. Kelly. But it's disgusting. I mean, what these cultural moments show us is a lot of people's true, honest thoughts on a lot of these issues. And it's disgusting.
Michael?
Well, first, if you recall, a couple weeks ago, you asked us to name musicians that we wanted to hear or listen to. Well, I had heard bits and pieces, too, of things over the last year. I knew nothing until I watched this documentary. So I have evolved in my thinking, so much so he has been removed from some of my music on my phone. And it was just, I believe the young women. And I feel so bad for them. And hopefully you're right. Hopefully people will take some legal consequences against them. It's unacceptable. And I hope he's punished.
Well, I don't think for a second that he can recover because as both of them said, no matter what he does, no matter where he goes, they're going to be waiting on him at those concerts. They're going to be going after anything he does. And I can tell you right now, this idea that he's going to sue, no. This is sort of like when Donald Trump threatens to sue. It ain't going to happen because the last thing he wants is to be deposed.
The thing is this, and I want to talking the Sony RCA issue real quick. His publishing is ridiculously huge. That's why they won't drop him. That, I think that, you have to find a way to hit him on his publishing. I mean, everybody from Michael Jackson to B2K to, pretty much every R&B artist from, 1990 to now has at some point in time done work with R. Kelly. There's the reason a lot of people in the industry are quiet. It's the reason, that, his label won't drop him. It's the reason that Live Nation is still, he's still a strong international act. And so that's, that's where, next steps with that.
Well, yeah, the question will be, will this become an international movement to go after if he tries to go overseas and perform as well? All right, folks, let's talk about what's happening in Florida. Today is the first day those formerly incarcerated in Florida could actually register to vote. Remember, it was Proposition 4 that was passed overwhelmingly in Florida on November 6th that restored the voting rights of individuals who were formerly incarcerated. Some 1.4 million people now eligible to register to vote. Actually, tomorrow they can start doing so. And of course, we've been talking about this. We were very supportive of this initiative. And the Republican governor, Ron DeSantis, and others, they were playing games. Well, Secretary of State, well, what do? We don't have any direction. Okay, I don't understand why. Because it was passed by the voters. Joining us right now is Jasmine Meade, president of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, and also Sheena Meade, his wife, who was working with him as well. Folks, okay, so are we now set? Do we have any more drama for the legislature or the Secretary of State? Or are they now clear that the language was very clear that people can now register to vote in Florida who were formerly incarcerated?
Well, Roland, first of all, thank you for having us on here. And I can tell you right now, if there's drama or not, we stand at the ready, prepared. We have a slew of attorneys that have been meeting on a weekly basis for the past 2 months, and they're ready to spring into action should we run into any issues as we go forth registering people to vote starting from tomorrow. But we're not anticipating anything. We're looking forward to tomorrow as being a celebration of love, a celebration of expanding democracy.
And Sheena, for folks who are on the fence there, because you get the Secretary of State not giving proper direction to local boards of elections, and so what is the process? What are y'all telling folks that they should do come tomorrow who were formerly incarcerated and who are not sure if they can even register?
Well, one I would say is tomorrow's a really exciting day where returning citizens can be able to share their stories and celebrate with their families going to register. As far as the Secretary of State, we're actually excited about the appointment of the new Secretary of State. He has been a supporter of Amendment 4 when he was the SOE in Seminole County. He was actually one of the only Republican SOEs that came out publicly supporting Amendment 4, even throughout the petition collection. So he has made a statement that forward. All the SOEs in the state of Florida are ready to get folks registered tomorrow. So we're telling our folks to just move forward. At the end of the day, we passed a constitutional amendment, and we're going to walk in the spirit of, of that being uplifted.
We're treating this, Roland, tomorrow, business as usual. But like I said, we do have a cadre of attorneys that stand at the ready. We have a 1-800 number, 1-877-MY-VOTE-0, that if folks run into any issues, that they can call that number, and we would have dispatch attorneys to take care of that.
All right, then. Well, look, we're certainly looking forward to it as well. I certainly hope that people take advantage of this. Now the key is to get those 1.4 million all registered so they can actually now partake in the democratic process. And hopefully you will not have any drama from Republicans in Florida who are scared to death of this many people coming on. But we'll ask this, though. Last question. Have y'all been contacted by people in other states who want to try to emulate what you did in Florida and try to get a ballot initiative in their states?
So I didn't catch the first part of that question.
Have either one of you had folks in other states reach out to you about trying to do this, trying to get a ballot initiative passed in their state, restoring the rights of those who were formerly incarcerated who couldn't vote?
So not directly right now, but we do have organizations that we have been talking to really talk about what that secret sauce is. What is it? What was that strategy that we were able to employ that was able to get an issue as volatile and controversial as felons being able to vote in the state of Florida at that, and to be able to pass the way it did in this political climate, folks know that there was something special there. And so we've had folks reach out to us about that. And so state, you have Iowa, Kentucky, and Virginia that still could see some movement in that area. And hopefully we'll talk to some people in those states in the upcoming months. But right now, our main focus is on the celebration of what we were able to accomplish. We had over 5.1 million votes, and they were not based on fear or hate. They were based on love. And I'm going into Roland. My daughter is going to help me register to vote as part of Black Youth Vote from the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. They're going to be the ones that register the first person in my county, and my daughter is going to be, and my wife and son voted for me on November 6th is going to accompany me when I sign that on that dotted line.
All right, and we certainly can't wait to see the video of that. Desmond and Sheena Mee, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Roland. Appreciate all your support.
All right, thank you very much. And also, folks, pull up the website again so folks can go to. This is the website. You have any questions about registering to vote if you were formerly incarcerated in Florida, go to FloridaRRC.com, FloridaRRC.com for more information. All right, let's go to Birmingham. In October, the CEO of the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute, Andrea Taylor, announced that Angela Davis was going to receive the highest honor of the Institute, the Fred Shuttlesworth Human Rights Award, saying, quote, "She is one of the most globally recognized champions of human rights, giving voice to those who are powerless to speak." And, of course, the award is named after the pastor who led the civil rights demonstrations in Birmingham, who was instrumental in tearing down Jim Crow there. But now a different tune is being sung, and Angela Davis is not going to get that award. In fact, the annual gala where she was supposed to receive it has been canceled completely. Why? Because of complaints after she was being announced, largely from the Jewish community in Birmingham and from across the country. Who is saying that? Well, Birmingham's Mayor Randall Woodfin. Before I read his statement, though, we need to read the actual statement, folks, of the Civil Rights Institute, because actually it makes no sense whatsoever to me, their particular statement. And so here it is. Here we go to my iPad, please. In September of 2018, the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute's Board of Directors selected Angela Davis to receive the prestigious Fred Shuttlesworth Human Rights Award at its annual gala in February 2019. In late December, supporters and other concerned individuals and organizations, both inside and outside of our local community, began to make requests that we reconsider our decision. Upon closer examination of Ms. Davis's statements and public record, we concluded that she unfortunately does not meet all of the criteria on which the award is based. Therefore, on January 4th, BCRI's board voted to rescind its invitation to Ms. Davis to honor her with the Shuttlesworth Award. While we recognize Ms. Davis's stature as a scholar and prominent figure in civil rights history, we believe this decision is consistent with the ideals of the award's namesake, Reverend Shuttlesworth. We regret that this change is necessary and apologize to our supporters, the community, and Ms. Davis for the confusion we have caused. We will move forward with a keen focus on our mission to enlighten each generation about civil and human rights by exploring our common past and working together in the present to build a better future. The associated gala event, scheduled for February 16th at Haven, has been canceled. Ticket purchasers will receive a full refund. Okay, the problem with this statement is it doesn't even say who complained. It doesn't say what remarks or comments that they use to justify rescinding the award. In fact, we called the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute today. No one answered the phone today. We wanted to find out the specific criteria to receive the Fred Shuttlesworth Award. Nobody answered. Alabama.com, AL.com, they have been trying to reach the board chair, the board CEO, the Civil Rights Institute CEO. None of them are talking. But Birmingham Mayor Randall Woodfin is. This is his statement. Quote, "As I consider What do you say? As I consider the controversy over the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute's decision to honor Dr. Angela Davis with the Fred L. Shuttlesworth Human Rights Award and the subsequent decision to rescind that honor after protests from our local Jewish community and some of its allies, my overriding feeling is one of dismay. I'm dismayed because this controversy might have been avoided entirely had it been handled differently. I'm dismayed because, as has been the case throughout Birmingham's history, people of goodwill behave reflexively rather than engaging in meaningful discourse over their differences and seeking common ground. Here's the issue. Davis is an outspoken supporter of the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement targeting Israel's treatment of Palestinians. That's a no-no for many Jewish groups in the United States, and they're doing their best to deny people with that point of view a chance to speak. Joining us right now is Roy Johnson. He's a columnist with AL.com, the only black columnist in the entire state of Alabama. Roy, here's what's just nuts to me. I got a notice about this on Saturday, and what is utterly confusing is that, and again, I'm looking at their statement. They don't say who complained. The Civil Rights Institute doesn't say on this close examination of her statements in public record, okay, if you're going to rescind the award, have the guts to say what she said that you object to. You've been trying to reach them. Any luck?
Well, you started right at the core there. You talk about somebody having guts. I mean, it's interesting that this award is named after someone who had the courage to stand up to those who tried to bomb him. His own house, Fred Shuttlesworth's house, was bombed 3 times. He was attacked as he tried to take his daughters to school and sent to the hospital. A man who displayed courage, and fittingly the award is named after him. And yet the people who have been entrusted with that award showed no courage in this instance in not only rescinding this award, but then not having the temerity to come out and let us know exactly why. What parts of her record all of a sudden after 2 months did not fit the criteria for the award. I spoke to people who were intimately involved with Fred Shuttlesworth, who knew him well, and they adamantly denied that this would fit the ideals that Fred Shuttlesworth espoused, as the BCRI board noted. They contradicted that totally and said this is something that showed that not only do they not know Fred Shuttlesworth, they certainly don't know Angela Davis as well.
And what is crazy to me is for the Civil Rights Institute to all of a sudden go quiet. Okay, you don't make a public announcement that you're going to honor Angela Davis, and also for folks who don't know, a woman who is from Birmingham.
Right.
Okay, so this is a daughter of Birmingham, and so to not have the guts to announce why you're rescinding the award, but then also this idea that, well, it doesn't fit the criteria. Okay, where's the criteria? Show me then what's the criteria for the Fred Shuttlesworth Award. Does the criteria say you can't criticize Israel?
Roland, this is a catastrophe because certainly she would not have been the first honoree of the Shuttlesworth Award to be critical of Israel. Danny Glover has been critical of Israel. Harry Belafonte, last year's recipient, has been critical of Israel. So why now? Why Angela Davis? She would not have been the first recipient to make critical statements. And we're talking about the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. Not only is this an institution in a city that is ground zero for change in America, but is a place where people from around the world come and discuss human rights, not only and learn what happened here and try to take it back to their own cities, their own states, and their own countries to try to emulate the lessons and try to have dialogue. The Civil Rights Institute has tried to bring people together, and they've undone all of that with this just catastrophic decision. The process was terrible. It was done behind closed doors. It was rushed. They have yet to reveal what the vote was on the board. I have put in a Freedom of Information request to get the minutes of the meeting so I could find out not only what the tally of the board was, but who voted for it. I understand that many of the African-American board members abstained from the vote, which to me is just as abhorrent as voting for it. So we're still looking into this. It'll be interesting to see the fallout. There's been a lot of criticism of the board chair. There's been some criticism of Andrea Taylor. And I think the next few days are going to reveal a lot more about how this decision was made and why it was rushed to be done so fast.
And for folks who, I tweeted out your column earlier, I'll send it out again. So they had a call late Friday night.
Friday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
4 o'clock.
Nobody is supposedly paying attention.
4 p.m. on Friday, you have a call. It's not open. They go into executive session. That's where they vote, come out, announce the decision. We don't even know what the vote total was. And then there were a couple of non-voting members who were not on there. And first of all, as somebody who is on a board of directors of a nonprofit, even though that they are non-voting members, a board can't allow anyone they want into an executive session conversation. And those two members, including one of them is the mayor, were not allowed to be a part of this conversation, correct?
Absolutely. In executive session, voting members have to be there, but ex officio members who are non-voting members can or cannot be there. They were not invited. The other one that you did not mention is Odessa Woolfolk, who is another civil rights icon here. She is someone who was a elementary school teacher during the Children's Crusade, and so she tells us plenty about what went on during that Children's Crusade. And I understand that she is actually a friend of Angela Davis, and so she was not invited to be part of that conversation and part of that vote either. So the two non-voting members were not there. They voted on Friday night, and I didn't find out about it until about 7 o'clock Saturday evening when the Facebook event popped up on my phone and said that the event was deleted. And at that moment, I said, uh-oh, something's going down.
I understand that others still plan on inviting Angela Davis to Birmingham to honor her. Have you heard anything along those lines?
There are a number of people who have reached out to her, churches, other organizations that are trying to bring her here either on that date, but it was February 26th, bring her here for that date or a subsequent date. So stay tuned to hear more about that and see if she does decide to accept one of those invitations.
Well, certainly keep us abreast. I would really love for somebody else to actually throw an event in a gala, invite folks actually to purchase tickets, and that money actually go to social justice organizations who are doing the work today, women's groups who are doing the work today, because this decision by the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute, it is weak, it is meek, it is impotent, and then for them not to have the courage to come out and publicly discuss it shows to me how weak they are, and I would not be surprised if a whole bunch of people who are black say, if that's how you want to treat Angela Davis, we're going to wash our hands of your institute, and feel free to go have the people who want to tell you what to do, then continue to fund you.
And it just boggles my mind. It's so unfortunate because the BCRI does do so much great work. Andrea Taylor, in her 3 years here, has rebuilt the infrastructure, has changed the museum, has given it a more global audience, and more people are coming to the Institute. And yet this one event, this one decision threatens to really undo all that, and particularly losing the base of support right here in this community. It boggles my mind that they did not see this coming, that they did not see the reverberations from this, particularly locally. And it just calls to mind those people who are concerned about a changing Birmingham, about whether outside forces are coming in to take over the city, if you listen to some. But this decision and the way it was transpired, the pressure that came from outside forces. I mean, imagine you telling another organization that they can't honor whom they want to honor.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what this, you can certainly have a conversation. You can hear their grievances. But at the end of the day, if this is my organization and this honoree resonates with my audience, while I respect your opinion, I'm still going to move forward. This board did not do that, and this board is likely going to pay in a number of ways.
All right, Roy Johnson, AL.com. We appreciate it. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you, Ro.
I want to go to my panel here. Look, if you want an example of where people say folks who are Jewish telling black people what to do and controlling black people, hello, Exhibit A.
Yeah.
I mean, this to me is crazy. And not only that, even if they disagreed with her position, the Institute has decided.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They've decided.
This is what happened when you don't find your own freedom.
Yeah.
This is what happened when you depend upon outside sources for resources and to advance your own agenda. I think one thing that white America and non-black America has to understand and learn is that there is a unique black experience. And with that unique black experience comes reverence for figures within the civil rights movement, and figures that have played unique roles within the advancement of black people in America. Some folk that may be controversial to non-black people, like an Angela Davis, like a Louis Farrakhan, you know, to conservatives like a Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, as crazy as that sounds. But that's something that white America has to learn and has to cope with. I mean, these are people that we'll never turn our back on because, look, that's all we had at some point.
But to the point Roy made, Harry Belafonte has been very clear where he stands. He was honored last year. Danny Glover, so many others, and these are people who are still on the battlefield today fighting these issues. This, to me, and again, here's the other piece. Okay, you want to make the decision? Okay, fine, make the decision. But don't put out some pissy-ass statement like they did that was bland. Oh, we looked at her comments in public record. Which comments?
Which public record?
What, have the guts to say it. And I would say, Andrea Taylor, you're the CEO. Don't run and hide. Don't sit here and not return phone calls and not return emails. Have the guts to come out and say, this is our decision. This is what happened. This is why we did it. And we stand by our decision. The board chair have the guts. The board members have the guts. What you have here is an institution that is absolutely weak.
Absolutely. Well, and I would even put more of the onus on the board because, frankly, the way a lot of our organizations run, this sounds like this is completely of the board's doing. I doubt the CEO was involved with.
But the CEO is a part of this.
I mean, she should answer questions, but I would say I would definitely go after the board chair and the board, because they're the ones who made this decision. And here's the danger in letting other people decide who we honor, okay? The bottom line is we have, as you mentioned, we have our own distinct history. And because of our distinct history, we have a particular I would say resonance with understanding what it feels like to be oppressed, no matter who the oppressor is. And so that is why you have a lot of African Americans, including myself, who are very, very sensitive to the oppression and the violence that our Palestinian brothers and sisters are facing right now. And if you have other people who are willing to fund your silence, you are not doing your duty. As an organization that claims to honor and represent civil rights and claims to represent and honor human rights, you are not doing your duty, not only to stand up for your own people in terms of Angela Davis and the community that you represent in terms of being able to sort of highlight our heroes, but you're also discounting the very legitimate beliefs that a lot of us have that maybe resonate with those of us with some of those who are not, in your favor as it relates to your funders. You have to be proud enough and you have to be strong enough in your ideals to remain consistent in those ideals, even in the face of threats that you might be receiving. And the fact that they didn't even mention in that initial statement who complained shows me that they were embarrassed, shows me that they were cowardly, and shows me that they knew they were wrong.
First of all, Aaron, go to my iPad. Here are the board members of the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. Mike Oatridge is the chair. Walter Bodie is the first vice chair. Janice Kelsey, secretary. Thomas L. Wilder Jr., the treasurer. Doug Jones, immediate past chair. Not sure if that is Senator Doug Jones.
I believe it is Senator Doug Jones.
He's about to get a text from me right now asking if that's him. Jeffrey Bayer, Isaac Cooper, Bean Edwards, Michelle Elrod, Rosalind Houston, Danny Markstein, J. John Oros Jr., Jonathan Porter, Cameron Vowell, and then, of course, Odessa Woolfolk, Chair Emerita. Again, she was one ex officio member. You have Andrea L. Taylor, President, CEO. Then you have Mayor Randall Woodfin, who's ex officio. And then, of course, that is the Doug Jones, who is United States Senator. So y'all can go ahead and comment. I'm about to send him a text to see what his thoughts on this. Go ahead.
Say he probably already resigned after he got elected, so he's going to say he had no part in the decision.
No, but I just want to make sure that he wasn't on the phone.
Yeah, but I think, you know what would be nice, Roy? He's doing his for Freedom of Information Act. He should also try to get those donors, because then he can do a matrix of who's contributed, and then it would be obvious who put the pressure on the organization to change their decision.
I agree 100% with you. But I think we have to circle back to For our organizations to thrive and to be successful and be 100% independent, you got to fund your own freedom.
Absolutely.
You have to develop your own donor base. You have to.
Right.
But with that, you also have to develop the backbone to say, hey, you know, if this is our history, this is what the literal reason why this organization, this museum, this institute exists, is to preserve the memory and spirit and history of the civil rights movement, so that generations that may not have lived through it can learn from it and apply it to situations of oppression down the line.
Right.
You know, you cannot cave to oppression.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, and of course, I mean, you know, this is, but to exert their influence, this board, if they want any credibility, they're going to have the courage to come out and say, this is why. Because not only you rescind the award, you cancel the event as well. And
it's going to hurt their future events.
Oh, no. Look, first of all, I can tell you right now, as somebody who has frequently gone to Birmingham, who has visited there. In fact, when we were last in Birmingham, we broadcast my show from there. And when I did ESPN, we did it from in front of the Institute. Until they answered these questions, I can tell you right now, I have no intentions on visiting the museum, on doing anything with the museum, because this to me is an abomination that you also are unwilling to have an open conversation about why you did it and who are the people who put the pressure on you.
Yep.
Okay, that actually, so I would advise y'all at the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute, you might want to actually be real open and honest and transparent with people, or this is going to get uglier. It's going to get a whole lot uglier, because people are going to be demanding answers. And don't think for a second this is only going to be a Birmingham thing, because the story is actually going to get bigger. Because not only we're going to keep talking about it here in Roland Martin Unfiltered, then guess what? Y'all are going to be the focus of my Tom Jordan commentary on Wednesday. 7:15 a.m. Eastern. Y'all might want to tune in. All right, folks, be sure to support Roland Martin Unfiltered by going to our website, RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, joining our Bring the Funk fan club. All of your dollars go to support and make this show possible, which allows for us to check people when necessary, like the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. And so, again, this also is an opportunity for us to support, as Eugene said, fund our freedom. Because I can guarantee you, of all them other shows out there on cable news right at this hour, I guarantee you they spend most of their time talking about Trump and his damn wall. They were not talking about Cyntoia Brown. They were not discussing Jasmine Barnes. They were not talking about restoring the rights of formerly incarcerated in Florida. They were not talking about Mute R. Kelly. They surely were not talking about Angela Davis and Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. This is why we matter, having our own show speak to our issues in our own voice, talked about by people who look like us. Not all think like us, because we have all different views. But this is why Roland Martin Unfiltered matters. So we want you to support us by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And so we've got about 1,100 or so folks who have been our supporters. We want to greatly increase that number. So time for you to do so right now. So you can do it via Cash App, PayPal, also Square, you name it. We take all those forms. And so we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Tomorrow, folks, I was supposed to have the interview I did with the brother discussing African-American and our rich heritage with food. We're going to air that tomorrow. We just had way too much news to talk about today. There's a bunch of stuff I even canceled because we couldn't get to it. So I'm going to have that conversation for you tomorrow. And also beginning tomorrow, we had different profiles of HBCU professors who are doing some great work as a part of AT&T's Dream in Black initiative. And so we'll start those tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Ava's Michael Eugene, thanks so much. I appreciate it. All right, folks, we got to go. Y'all have a great one. Holla! You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.